Switzerland basically invented the modern lump sum tax program where you pay one amount of tax and you can earn as much money overseas as you want. Today I'm going to tell you how you can move to Switzerland and actually cut your costs in half. Now when I say cut your costs in half, I'm not talking about cutting your cost of living because Switzerland is one of the most expensive places in the world to live, no doubt about it. It is one of the few European countries that is actually more expensive than the United States. But if you're a high earner, if you have a high net worth and you want all the benefits that Switzerland has to offer, you can move to Switzerland, whether you're a European citizen or not, by taking advantage of their high value resident program. And what that means is you're going to basically work with a local Swiss canton, any of those that offer Swiss tax incentives to foreigners, and you're going to figure out some amount of tax that you're going to pay that's based on a multiple of your living expenses. Here's how that works.
Though it sounds robust, the process is actually quite simple, and it is based on negotiation between you and tax authorities. First of all, you need to demonstrate that you have assets that are valued 10 million Swiss francs or more. And the second and the more important condition is to basically estimate your annual living expenses in Switzerland, and they have to be, let's say, an estimation somewhere close to 500,000 Swiss francs per year. And everything counts in that, so you can put any expenses regarding your household, estimate dining out, your health insurance, maybe schools for your kids, staff payments, so anything counts. Procedure is quite simple, and it will take somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks for tax authorities to issue you a tax certificate. So basically what you do is you or your lawyers go to tax authority office, submit the documents, basically as I said, estimation of your annual expenses in Switzerland, and demonstration of your wealth. And basically afterwards, tax authorities will come back to you after that period of 4 to 6 weeks, where they will come to you and issue you a document which will say explicitly how much in taxes you need to pay each year. So under any condition, they won't revisit that. So they won't come after 2 to 3 years and say, well, you haven't paid enough in taxes, or your expenses are higher than we thought. So basically that document is a proof how much you will pay in your taxes in the next period, as long as you are under a lump sum taxes. Obviously, your income that is coming from Switzerland will be subject to ordinary Swiss taxes. One of the best things regarding lump sum is that you do not have to submit any annual statements, so you do not have to report how much was your income in a previous year. You don't have to report any of your assets, and on the top of that, you pretty much don't have to worry about your company structure. Obviously, what you need to worry is not to manage your company from Switzerland, because that might be considered kind of the permanent establishment rule, and your company might be deemed permanent establishment in Switzerland, but there's a way to structure that, and quite simple terms, but you don't have to worry in terms of in which jurisdiction your company is incorporated. To demonstrate you the range of tax savings that you can have under a lump sum taxation in Switzerland, let's take an example of a U.S. taxpayer or U.S. citizen that has $10 million in taxable income. So let's take everything as a pure income. So on 10 million income, you will be paying around 3.7 million in taxes in the US. On the other side, someone that earns the same income and lives in Swiss canton Zug will actually pay 10% of the taxes that our U.S. counterpart is paying, so it will be paying $360,000 in taxes, obviously in francs.
So the bottom line is that for the most part, you're going to come up with one lump sum rate of tax that you're going to agree to pay every year. You're going to have to be insured on top of that, and depending on the canton you live on, you'll pay whatever that local wealth tax is, In a canton like Nidwalden, for example, it's very, very, very low. So the compliance of being a lump sum tax resident in Switzerland is more involved than, let's say, in Italy nearby. Italy has basically taken the program, lowered the price, made it a bit more straightforward, but obviously some people just prefer to live in Switzerland. And so since the values, depending on which canton you choose to live in, can reach, if you're not a European, 400,000, 500,000, even more. I mean, people can be paying really well into the six figures in taxes. There's one trick you can use to cut that tax bill in half, move to Switzerland, and save a lot of money. Because remember, if you make $10 million and you're paying $500,000 in tax, that's a 5% tax rate to live in one of the most advanced countries in the world. If you can cut that in half, that's a 2.5% tax rate to live in one of the most advanced countries in the world. Now, I'm simplifying this, but here's how you can cut that tax bill in half. If you are a citizen of a European Union country or of an EEA country, so let's say you come from anywhere in the EU, from Ireland to Bulgaria, or from Norway, Liechtenstein, what have you can move to Switzerland. And basically, you're allowed to pay half the amount of tax as someone who's not from one of those countries. So the High Value Resident Program says if you're not from Europe, that you're going to have to double up your contribution under the lump sum. So let's say you're an American or a Canadian or Australian and you want to move to Switzerland and your number is $500,000. That's how much tax you're going to pay. But let's say that when you move there, you were a citizen of Malta, or you were a citizen of Ireland, or you were a citizen of anywhere else in Europe. You would be able to cut that in half. And so how do you do that? Obviously, if you're already a citizen of one of those European countries, then easy enough. However, there's a number of different ways to obtain European citizenship, which we talk about here. The first and fastest and most straightforward way for someone at a very high level is to obtain Malta citizenship through their MEAN program, which is a 750,000 euro donation. And if you have dollars or other currencies, certainly your euro contribution is lower than it was a year ago. 750,000 euros to get citizenship in a year. From the time you get residence, you're going to be looking at about 18 months for the whole process, start to finish. Obviously, you've got to be very clean, no criminal record. They do very extensive due diligence. But you can add additional members of the family for 50,000 euros each as well. And then they have all the benefits of not only being able to live in Malta, but also being able to move to Switzerland or being able to move to any other country in Europe. And so you can move around and take advantage of different countries' cultures, different countries' lifestyles, different countries' freedoms, and different countries' tax incentives. Because certainly Switzerland isn't the only country that you'll have access to as a Maltese citizen with the rights to live anywhere in the EU. You can then move to Italy, you can move to Portugal, you can move to Ireland, you can move to Cyprus, you can move to any of those countries that you want, or any of them that don't have tax incentives as well. But the point is, by making that contribution to Malta, that's money that's out the door, so it's going to be close to $1 million for a couple, and more if you add additional kids or other family members. But in that way, in 18 months, you can move and you can cut your tax in Switzerland in half. And so if you're going to pay $500,000 or 500,000 Swiss francs, and now you're down to 250,000, and you're paying $1 million for the citizenship, you've got a 4-year break even. But now you and your entire family have the option of that free movement throughout Europe. If you have an ancestor, that's one way to do it as well. And so in this case, you're probably not going to get everyone in the family citizenship, because if I'm married, my wife isn't necessarily entitled to my ancestral citizenship. However, in some cases that may be possible through various means. But if I can get, let's say, Irish citizenship through my parent or my grandparent, if I can get Slovak or Bulgarian or Lithuanian or any number of other Hungarian, Polish, those citizenships generally go back 3 generations, sometimes even more. Italy, if I have someone from Italy, and I can prove that. And in some cases, if I have an unbroken chain, i.e. nobody renounced their citizenship before it got passed on to the next person, then I can claim that. And so if I can become Italian, then I can move to Switzerland and I have that deal. I can also become Italian, contrary to popular belief, and I can take advantage of Italy's lump sum tax deal, because it's not just for foreigners, it's for folks who haven't lived in Italy before, anytime recently. And so you've got, again, all the different tax incentives if you become one of those. And so this is a way to where if you have citizenship by descent, you're not going to pay a lot of money. You're going to be tracking down different records. We help people get citizenship by descent, and it doesn't really cost that much in comparison to other programs. But you have the full rights of European citizenship, including the right to move to Switzerland, and including that means you've got this discounted lump sum. If you think you might want to move to Switzerland, like when you retire, and you're going to have lots of dividends and other income when you retire, you could take the slow route. You could get, let's say, a golden visa in a country like Portugal. That's going to be a little bit less, it's going to be a lot less efficient. You're going to take some time to get that issued. They're a little slow in issuing those. You're going to wait 5 years as a resident. You're going to spend a nominal amount of time there. You're going to establish a few ties to Portugal, and then you're going to apply for citizenship if you can speak Portuguese. So something like that's a way that you can do it more slowly. And obviously, you could also, if you say, hey, I'm going to have a small amount of income now for some reason, and I'm going to have a big amount of income later, you could simply live in some other European country through a self-sufficient or independent means visa, whether it's in Portugal or Italy or anywhere else, and you can just work your way towards citizenship there in anywhere from 5 to 10 years. Probably not efficient if you're looking to cut your Swiss taxes in half. But you've got golden visas, you've got Malta citizenship program, and if you're lucky enough, you've got citizenship by descent. Any of those options allow you to dramatically cut your Swiss tax exposure. And so that could be, again, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And so when I say, look at the ROI of second citizenship, if I'm an American and I make $10 million a year and I don't really care about living in the United States anymore, I could become Maltese. I could renounce my U.S. citizenship. Now I have no U.S. tax liability. So now the only thing that matters is where I live. I can then move to Switzerland and I can sign up as a Maltese citizen. I'll pay a couple $100,000, and now I've got a tax rate that's in the single digits. I'm contributing plenty of money to Switzerland. They're getting a good deal because I'm not really using any public services, but I'm getting plenty of a good deal. And so in doing that, what's the ROI on that? That over the next 5, 10, 20, 50 years, you're going to be able to not pay the first country. And basically in Switzerland, all I eat, as long as I'm earning the money somewhere else, all I can eat is going to be taxed under that lump sum. Now, some years the chips might be down and your tax rate's going to go up. But what if you start doing a bigger business? You can do that. And so you don't have to go to Switzerland. Again, other countries have this, and they're a little bit more flexible and a little bit more straightforward. But if you want the creme de la creme, the original lump sum tax program, and you like what Switzerland has to offer, that's one way where you can get an ROI in about 3 or 4 years, plus all the other benefits that comes with having that citizenship. And the ROI of 3 to 4 years is if you've got kind of the worst case scenario and you've got to spend big money obtaining citizenship by making a donation. If you can get it for free, then obviously the ROI is almost instant. But it's why I think, if you want to live in Europe, there's plenty of tax incentives and you can get that, and it's turbocharged by having citizenship in some other European country.